Hey there, this is Tabitha Purple. We are doing our Corona Diary devotionals. We are at day 27. So, I release these in blocks of 7 so that you can watch them throughout the week and then get on with whatever else you're doing. The idea is to have a discussion point. Now, I've got to be honest with you. I showed you my calendar, so you've seen this, where I literally just tick off the days. And I just take the daily devotional and I say, okay, I'm just going to unpack whatever I find. I'm not going to try and create a whole new devotional reel of my own with singular verses. There are enough out there. And I don't think that reading singular verses is necessarily a bad or a good thing, but I'm not quite sure it's a helpful thing. And this text is why, because I would like to not read this today. But it's today's reading, so I'm going to do it. It's Matthew chapter 5, verse 48. I'm going to tell you that this does not fill me with joy, and you will see why. Matthew chapter 5, verse 48. So it says, be perfect. You heard me correctly. Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. The end. One verse. Good. Did you get all your instructions? You know what to do now? Excellent. You know that you've got to be perfect, right? Everybody's got to be perfect if you're following God. Be perfect. Good. Excellent. Devotional finished. It's not helpful, is it? It's actually not helpful, is it? Let's just say that again. It's not helpful to just read that one verse and then think that that's it. Like when you read that one verse, in actual fact, what it can do is be off-putting, because one of the things that happens is there is a startling, glaring problem with the be perfect. How? Here's another startling, glaring problem with the be perfect. Who? Let's be honest, because let's just have, jackets off, honest moment. Christians are not perfect. None. Not one. There is not one. I mean, you might know one. By all means, tag them. I don't mind you tagging them. But I will tell you that they're not perfect. Why? Because we're human. And in our humanity, perfection is just... But you see, here's the problem. If you read that one verse, what you are left with is that there is only one option for you as a Christian. Be perfect. And so I'm either going to be continually failing, and the idea of continually failing means, no, I'm not going to do this. Walk away now, get out, because I don't do failure every day of my life for the whole entirety of my life. That doesn't make sense. You're telling me Jesus came, lived, did all those miracles, did all those wonderful teaching, died on a cross, stayed in the grave on Sabbath, woke up on Sunday so that I could fail every day of my life. That doesn't seem quite like the freeing message I imagined. So no. There's another option, be perfect. So what you want me to do is to continuously fight to be perfect. And I'm going to have to fight everybody and everything to be perfect. Like I'm going to have to put everything in. I may even have to withdraw my entire social network. Everybody and everything is going to have to change because how am I going to be perfect? So here's the problem with reading one verse. You don't have any context to it. It's one sentence. One sentence can say anything. In fact, if you took one of the sentences I have said in this conversation, you can make it seem like I believe in that you should be perfect, or that I'm a terrible human and terrible Christian and do not believe in the message of Jesus, depending on which sentence you took. Because one sentence, just one sentence, has no context, it has no story. And to do that just rips it from the narrative and makes it into something that we may not like, or may be impossible to do, or may actually feel like we're failing all the time. Something that God didn't really ask us to do. So what is going on in this story? Well, we'd have to read the rest of the chapter, but we're just going to read a few verses back to see if we can figure this out together. For if you love those... So let's start at the 43. Heading here is love your enemies. Love your enemies. And this is where the perfection comes in. You've heard it said, love your neighbour and hate your enemies. But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, so that you may be children of the Father in heaven. For he causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends the rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. For if you love those who love you, what reward will you have? Don't even the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what are you doing out of the ordinary? Don't even the Gentiles do the same? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. It sounds different in context, doesn't it? Now we're not talking about absolutely everything about me. Now we're talking about something relational. Actually, here's a challenge to your soul. There is something that you've heard that is going around. And it's a really interesting love your neighbor. A text taken from the early part of the Torah. But the hate your enemies isn't actually in the Torah. So what does that mean? It means somebody's been teaching this idea that we love our neighbors and we hate our enemies because it suits their narrative. They've been feeding on this idea. I wonder who might do that. Who could possibly be enjoying that narrative? I mean, we have presidents today who seem to do that just fine, don't they? We have leaders in churches who seem to talk about that. hate the person who is this. We don't hate the sinner. We hate the sin. Well, how do you separate the two? It's really interesting. We have a lot of people who preach this message. But God says, actually what I want you to do is to love everyone, because I love them all. Like the rain just falls on all of you. Like whether you're just or unjust, I'm just doing the thing. I'm watering the ground. In other words, I'm loving all of you regardless. Now, challenge. Can you do the same? It's a hard challenge, right? This is not an easy one. And then that perfection thing comes in a different context. It comes in the context of this is going to be hard work. You're going to have to roll up your sleeves. You're going to have to really figure out how to love somebody who hates you, who is your enemy. And most of us, we don't have enemies like that, but some of us know what that means, and we know how hard that's going to be. It's going to be tough. Give it a go. Bye-bye.